Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kade and in this video I'm just gonna continue talking about the 100 things that I love about Finland. 100 things, it's like a lot to share, and that's why I have divided this video in two, potentially three parts. This is part number 2. If you haven't watched the first part of the 100 things that I love about Finland, I'm just gonna link this above so you can go and watch it. And before I jump into continuing with the list of things that I love about Finland, I really want to take the moment to give a thank you message. So if you're not interested in listening, just go to the description and jump into the actual part of the video where I actually start to share more about the things that I love from this beautiful country. But I just really wanted to have a moment in this video and say thank you, because my previous video has been so well received and it has received so much love that I'm just too happy. And I just wanted to, share for all of the people who it's not the first time that are watching one of my videos. I wanted to say thank you because I read all of your comments and I have learned just so much about you by sharing. You have to know that what I share in my videos, it's simply the knowledge that I have from the experience that I've acquired. So there are certainly some things that, I can learn much more about you, not about you, but about the things, if you actually share with me your experience, or you correct me, or you share more, richer facts with me on the comments. And I really read all of your comments, and I really love that you are interacting with me in such a way. I'm gonna make sure that I answer to all of those comments before I publish this new video. And I just wanted to give a huge thank you. I really love all of your comments, and I couldn't, before I started my YouTube channel, I couldn't even think that such a community could be built by me just posting videos. So I'm extremely grateful for that, and I just wanted to share that with you. But now that I have given my thank you message and my words of gratitude, because I'm really grateful for all of this, let's continue with the 100 things that I love about Finland. And in the first video, I mentioned the first 38 things. So let's kick it off from the thing number 39. And the 39, it's I really love starting this video with this 39 thing that I love about Finland, which it's all about getting your driving license in Finland. And that's that was a big thing, because in Finland getting a driving license, it's a big thing. And it's not only a big thing, it's also a very expensive big thing. I got my driving license probably 2 years ago, and it was a really long process. It's super expensive. I didn't got my own driving license by actually going to a driving school. The father of my boyfriend was at the time teaching my boyfriend's sister how to drive. He had this special permit on how to teach other people how to drive. So I kind of did it that way, through him. And that's why it was cheaper. I think the whole, paying for all the different permits and tests and whatnot I had to pay. I think I only spent 500 euros. But if you were to actually go to a driving school, it's a longer process, much more expensive, at least 2,000, I would say. Might vary according to driving school, from driving school to another driving school. And even though, I don't love the price, let me just clarify, I definitely don't love the price, but I really like the depth in which things regarding how to learn how to drive are studied in Finland. Because if you don't know, or if you are just if you don't know, you first start with a lot of theory, and that makes just so much sense, because then you can understand absolutely all of the traffic signs. And since those are common, at least from what I know, in Europe, then it just makes so much sense to actually have the theory part, because that will allow you, with a European license, you can drive in any other European country. I'm not sure how does it work for non-European countries, but at least with a European license you can drive in any of the European countries. So it does make sense that they kind of take very seriously the theory, because that's like what you need in order to understand the rules and in order to drive safely, like regardless of, well, not regardless of the country where you are, but at least in your country, in this case Finland, and in the EU countries. So that was like very sweet that it was like super heavy in theory before you even start learning the basics of driving. So the first part was theory. I had to present a theory exam that I had to pass first, and then only after like passing my theory exam I could, like, you know, present the second exam. And in order to present the second exam, that it's an examination in which you basically, like, if you have your own car, if not, then it's the one from the driving school. But you basically like go and you reserve your appointment for, you know, like driving examination, because it's like a national organization, the one that grants the driving licenses. So then you go to your examination and then you have to drive, like, I think it was something like 20 or 30 minutes what I drove myself. And then kind of like the person that's sitting next to you, it's evaluating that, okay, were you complying with the speed limits? Did you put the directional? Did you look, you know, the lights? Did you, you know, turn your head when you were gonna, like, you know, change lanes? And all these kind of like smaller things. I didn't pass my own driving test in the first attempt, but I passed it in on the second. And actually on the second time I was like a little bit not sure. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna say that I didn't pass. Because it was very funny. On the first time that I made my driving license exam, like the second part, I thought that I had, like, you know, nailed it. And then when I went there, I was like, they can't really be like that tough. And no, they were. He was like, oh, I'm sorry, but yeah, you know, like, you didn't pass. And I was like, what? But yeah, I didn't pass it. So then with the second time when I actually like attempted, I thought that, okay, I failed again, like whatever, FML. But no, I passed it and I was like, woohoo! Besides that, like that was the theory, then it was like the actual driving test. Then I also had to present a driving test that it was basically on a slippery kind of like road. And it's kind of like a simulation where you have to learn how to, like, I guess like the main point is that they want you to have the experience of how does it feel when, you know, you drive the car through like an oily surface, or like black ice, which is like very typical or very common in the winter time, or just like ice in general. So you have to like run, well, you don't have to run, you have to drive the car, and then the car goes to these, if it's winter, it's just slippery, but if it is like not winter, then it's like really, really oily. So it gets kind of like this slippery kind of effect. And then of course, you know, you kind of like struggle controlling the car, and you have to pass that test. Like you need to know, you know, like what should be your speed limits, and then like how does it feel, how should you react with the like wheel. And they basically take care that you have all these sort of like experiences. And I really like love it. I mean, I know I'm talking a lot about the driving test, but it's such a big deal because it's not just expensive, it's also like very extensive. So this was like the, you know, the test that I had to do for, you know, learning how to control the car, or at least having the experience of how does it feel if I were to lose control of the car in a slippery situation. And then after that, you can apply for the, what is it, like for receiving your driving license. But then I think, is it like one or within the first 2 years? I don't remember with exactitude, but you have to present like another test, like 1 or 2 years after you have received your driving license. I think it's maybe like 1 year. And you had again to, you know, just go there and have simulations where you kind of like simulate how I don't remember exactly all of the things because it was like 2 years ago. Wow, I have very short memory. Yes, I do. Sometimes there's some things that I remember clearly and I was just a little girl. Anyhow, and I remember I was in this simulation kind of like machine, and I had to learn how would I react with the car if there would be like some reindeer, you know, just coming across. Yes, because in Finland, there might be a reindeer that just, you know, comes in front of, you know, your road, and then you have to stop and wait for the reindeer or what is it, the other animal? Is it like Ace to like just move? So yeah, it's a very long process. It's very expensive. I don't like that about it, but I really feel that it really makes sure that the persons who get the driving license, like, you know, it's up to the person if the person takes it seriously or not. For the most part, I do hope that everyone takes it seriously. But you know, at least the system makes sure that you did study that content, that you did went through that practice, that you have the experience of how does it feel when it feels slippery, and that you are better off or you are better prepared whenever you actually start, you know, your life as a driver. And I think that's just so important. Coming from Mexico, in Mexico, like basically it's super easy to get a driving license or a driving permit when you are like underage. I think I myself started driving like a car like in the parking lots when I was maybe like 12 or something like that, and then maybe I would like drive around like my town when maybe I was like 14 or something like that. And well, then I came to Finland, so I really, you know, my driving skills are not so good. Well, because I don't own a car. Like I always, if I drive a car, it's a car that like, you know, I have loaned from someone, or if I'm in Mexico, then like my parents' car, but I don't own a car, so I don't really like drive much. And since most of my early years I spent them in Finland, I really didn't got the chance to drive a car. Besides in Kuopio, like you don't really need it unless you are going like, yeah, I feel like in Kuopio it's so small, you don't really need a car, especially like as a young adult, unless you're working, your work it's somewhere else. But you know, the bus connections here are so good, and the buses, you know, they are frequent enough, not super like, except on Sundays. On Sundays it's like not so comfortable. But otherwise, it's I think it's just all right. I mean, I have not suffered because I don't have a car. I have only suffered because I don't get to visit, you know, parts of Finland that I would like to visit, and that I could just, you know, grab my car and start driving, don't look back. So I think that's like super important coming from a country where, you know, really like you cannot know. In Mexico, you cannot know who knows you cannot know if the other person actually knows how to drive or doesn't know how to drive. So basically, like for the times when I'm in Mexico, it's like you basically just have to be looking, like of course take care of your own driving, but you mostly have to also be seeing how the others are like behaving and how the others are driving, because you never know, like, you know, not even like how the other persons are driving, but their driving style. Like you never know in Mexico. You don't know if the other person knows what he's doing, knows how he's driving. You don't know his driving style. Is he just gonna go like boom, and then you're gonna be like crash. So you know, coming from a country with such a low regulation concerning driving licenses, even though I feel the process it's very expensive and very long in Finland, I do see the benefit part, which is you know, having drivers that are better prepared and having drivers that, you know, are more aware of how things work and respect, you know, the traffic signs and respect the parking spots and all these kind of things. I think that's very sweet. I don't come from a country that has those kind of things, so it was just very funny whenever I go to Mexico. And the last time I was in Mexico was in 2018, and I remember I was driving in Mexico City. I was driving to my grandma's place, and I was going to enter these kind of like rapid, like it was like a faster road, and then I was telling something about my mom, like she was like, no, Heather, you have to go, and I was like, no, mom, no, because you know, this person has the preference. She's like, are you kidding me? And I was like, what, mom? She's like, no, like you have to go, because if you don't go, you are not gonna go. So now put the window out, put your hand out, and push the car, you know, like just go for it. I was like, okay, go. So yeah, driving in Mexico City, I've done it like very, very few times, but you just, you know, you just have to go like I don't know if you even understand what I'm saying, but yeah, it's just imagine like you are driving in a city where you are not sure if the people, there's no formal education or mandatory formal education on how to drive. So, things can go in any direction. So the number 40 thing that I love about Finland is that there's no private schools here. And you might be like, oh my God, like, what do you mean? But when I first came to Finland and I was told that I was going to go into a public school, I was like, what? Because in Mexico, there's public and private schools, and I've always gone into private schools. So I never had to experience, or I never had the chance to go to a public school. I don't know how is it to go to a public school. And I was just a little bit surprised that in Finland, there is no private schools. There's only one private university from what I know in Helsinki, but other than that, all the education is public. And even though I was surprised, I think that I really like the concept because it kind of like cuts the difference between, in Mexico, I personally feel that there's always this distinction between, whether you are going or whether you're going to a private school or whether you're not going to a private school. And that I feel that in Mexico, I personally feel that in Mexico, that creates kind of like social distance in a sense, or I don't know if that's the right term, but it creates this kind of like differentiation between, the people who goes to a private school and the people who goes to a public school. And obviously, because private schools cost, it means that, the only people that can afford, like, a private school are people that are ready to pay for their education. So it's people that have the financial resources to pay for a private education. And of course, there's different types of private education. Not all private education is like on the same level. There's like, a little like less expensive schools, like medium kind of schools, and very expensive schools. So that's also there. And I really love that in Finland that doesn't exist, because it kind of like puts everyone, I feel like, in the same like level. It's just like, oh, you go to that school, cool, I go to this other school. The only thing that I felt that differentiates schools in Finland, at least in Kuopio, is that when I came to study in Kuopio, they told me that Lyseo, it's for the, like nerds. And then like there's a school, Classica in Kuopio, that it's like, for the sporty people. And then there's like Kalavesi, that it's more for like the cool kind of people. And then there's like music. Is it like music or music and dance high school? And it's, for all these people that like to, focus on music already during high school. So I really love that there's like, no private schools in basic education, secondary education, high school education, or university education, with exception of the one school that's that one university that's in Helsinki and that it's private. And the other thing that I love about Finland is its education system, especially during the basic education, so like primary education, because it has been recognized as one of the best educations in the world. And what I really love about this is that students don't start, or kids don't start studying until they are like 7 years old. And before they are 7 years old, it's just mainly about like playing, and going to school, it's basically like going to play. And just like, now that I am 26 years old and I think about it, I just think how beautiful it is that actually kids are given all these 7-year window of, time to just grow and have fun and play, because it's just so important for kids. And even though I went to, I started kinder 2 when I was 4 years old, and I remember that, I don't know if we study or if we just play, but I remember that we did study like more. I don't know what does it mean in Finland, like really to just, be playing at school. But I feel that it's not the same as in Mexico, and just the idea that I can have my kids and that they could be playing and, not necessarily studying until the age of 7. I feel that's something I want for my own kids, and I think that's something that I really, really like from Finland also. The other thing that I really like is the school hours, because come on, school starts like at 8. Like what? At 8? And I heard I think recently, maybe 1 or 2 months ago from the moment that I am filming this video, I'm filming this video in March 2021. So I think like a couple months ago, I heard in one of our local newspapers that they were discussing about like whether students should actually start their school hours at 9. So, you know, when I came to Finland and I discovered that students go to school at 8, I was like, what? 8? Every day? Wow, that's so late. Like, that's so cool. Imagine if in Mexico you could start school at 8. And then, like, you know, school ends at least in high school. That's what I studied in Finland. High school is like ends like from Monday to Thursday. The school ends at 4. On Fridays, it ends at 2. And in university, it's even more chill because, you know, there might be some days where you only have like 2 or 4 hours of university. Sometimes you do have the 8 hours, but very rarely or ever you will have like more than 8 consecutive hours of studies. And I think that's like just like pretty sweet. Another thing that I love about Finland is the flexibility that exists in terms of study time, because I don't even know if that exists in Mexico because I didn't like, you know, study or lived long enough there to know about it. But for example, in Finland, your bachelor's, you can study it like faster or slower. And for example, I myself studied a bachelor's degree that's supposed to last like 3.5 years. I did some mistakes in my calculations, so I graduated in 4 years and not in 3.5. But I would have had the opportunity to finish my degree as fast as in like 2.5 years if the person wouldn't do anything other than studying and making the thesis and, you know, killing itself. No, not killing itself, but, you know, like, you know, putting 3.5 years of education in 2 or 2.5, it's a very big thing. So you definitely have to put the work. So I would say like the earliest in a degree like mine, I studied international business. It would have been maybe like 2.5 to 3 years. But I, like a person, like the ideal time would be 3.5 years, but a person can take up to like 4.5 years. And if in 4.5 years they wouldn't be able to finish the degree, they can still ask for an extension. And now that I'm studying my master's studies are meant to be studied in like 2 years, but I have up to 4 years to complete my master program. So, you know, I get to decide whether I want to finish in those 2 years. I get to decide whether for some weird reason I would want to speed up my graduation and just make a master in 1.5 years. But I can take up to 4 years. And I think like this flexibility into like, you know, you are the driver of your own car and you get to decide like, do you want to study it faster? Do you want to study it optimal time? Do you want to take longer? That's like really up to you. And I feel that's something that I really love from this country. But of course, like, I don't know, I think there are certain degrees where that's just not possible. I believe like medicine, there's really little space where you can really like speed up things. But in social education like business that I studied, it's just it's very easy to play with the time of study. The other thing that I really love about Finland, it's like the holidays for students and workers, and this is like paradise. Honestly, like this is like paradise. This is one of my favorite things about Finland. Before I lived long enough in Finland, I saw these with like very judgmental eyes because as a Mexican, I was just thinking like, oh my God, what do you do with all those holidays? Like, how is it possible that you have that many holidays? Like, what do you do even? Now that I have been living in Finland for 10 years, I appreciate that it's, you know, holidays are meant for a person to, you know, have fun, play, rest, travel. You know, don't think about anything, just like have fun. And I'm like, wow. So in high school, I only had the one free week in the autumn, the one free week in the spring, and then the 2 months like June and July, was it? I think it was like 2 months of summer holiday in high school. But then in university, and now that I'm studying my master's, I still have like, I start my studies in September, and basically all of the studies are done by the end of April. So like in university education, you get like May, June, July, and August as holidays. So literally it's like 4 months of holidays when you're a student. And as a worker, I believe that the first year Of course, like there might be some differences, but from the most part, from what I know, when you get like a 1-year contract in Finland, you maybe get like, from what I know, in the first year of working in Finland, like let's say if you have a contract of like 1 year, you get to have like the 6 like holiday days. And there's even like but it varies, like it varies in many workplaces. Like my friend that I knew that she just got a 1-year contract, she told me that her holiday days for like a 1-year contract is like 6 days. However, for example, when I had my 9-month contract, I knew that I was collecting, I think like 1 or 2 days per month of holidays. So it works a little bit different, but to make it simple, in Finland, when you are a worker, when you are working, and when you have like kind of like accumulated all of your working holidays, because you kind of like in Finland, it differs again according to your workplace, but you start kind of like collecting your holiday days the longer you stay in the same working place. So for example, when I was a waitress, I just started with 6 holiday days in a year. Then I got like, was it something like 24? And then in the 3rd year, I got like 30. And in the university where I'm working at the moment, like I kind of like work 1 year with a certain amount of holidays. But then, for example, this year, that's my 2nd year at the university, I have the 30 days of holidays, which basically it's counted like Monday to Friday. Those are like 5 days. So basically as a worker, I have 6 weeks of holidays, which I think it's fantastic because besides that, you can always like, if you collect like, again, this might differ according to different work environments, but for me, like if I work a lot on a certain period and I collect a lot of hours plus, then I just have to get rid of those hours. So I might get to have some like free days just because I worked a lot in other days. And then you can always ask something that in Finnish it's called palkaton vapaa, which is basically that you ask for unpaid free days. So it's I really like the holidays system in Finland. If I compared it to the Mexican, like, you know, to how many holidays my own parents get in Mexico, I'm like, wow, Finland's a paradise. So yeah, that's about holidays for students and workers. Obviously, as a student, like the 4 months. The 4 months. I love it. But yeah. Another thing that I love about Finland is the introduction of work from a very, very young age. And it's that in Finland, there's something that they called, I think, like the TET weeks. And basically they start like from a very young age. I think like the first TET week, you can make it like from when you are like 12, 13, something 12, 13, 14. And basically it's like these things. I'm not super aware on this. So if someone that's from Finland and that knows better about this topic, like just please comment it below so everyone can learn. But what I know is that in Finland, the basic education institutions give their students these kind of like 1 week periods of time where I think they call them like the TET weeks. And they are supposed to ask for this kind of like going to work to like whatever company they want to work on. And of course, you know, because they are kids, they make like super basic things, you know. If they go to a restaurant, they might help put the dishes into the dishwasher, or they might, for example, like clean some tables, but they are just allowed to make like, you know, super basic things and things that would never put at risk their safety. But you know, anyways, like they go to look for a place where to make their TET week. And then they actually spend like 1 week as part of their education working. And yeah, and also, you know, like this is like when it comes in terms of school. But other than that, like it is very common in Finland that from the age of 14, kids with the permission of their parents, I believe, like they are allowed to apply for summer jobs. And of course they cannot apply for these kind of like normal summer jobs, but they can work, for example, 2 or 3 weeks and receive certain remuneration also for their work, obviously. And then of course, as they kind of like keep growing and growing, then as the older they get, the more summer jobs they like kind of like apply to. And I think this is just so beautiful because it really allows kids from a very young age to really like try themselves in different workspaces and work environments, even if they're not doing like such a big job. But I think it really gives the opportunity from a very, very young age to experiment how is it to go to work. Because that's something that as a Mexican, like unless you have the need to go to work, you don't do that. And I talked about this in another of my videos, which when I remember which one is it, I'm just gonna link it above. But it doesn't make sense. In Mexico, it doesn't make sense to work if you have the possibilities to study. And I feel it's just so beautiful that in Finland, you get the chance to start experiencing work from a really young age. And even when you are like 14, 15, you can apply for these smaller periods of summer work time and you actually get like paid. And it's not small money. Like PEASA is having this program for young kids, like 14 plus. And I think there's like 2 or 3 weeks of work. And I think it's like 6 hours of work per day. And I think like the total compensation is something like 300 euros or something around those lines. And it's beautiful. Like it's beautiful if you are able to start earning money and to kind of like get familiarized with the idea of going to work. I really love that about Finland. Another thing that I really like about Finland is that it's so normal, or I personally feel that it's so normal to change careers, no matter like what's your age, because I personally feel that, for example, coming from Mexico, you study a degree, you take like maybe like 5 years to finish that degree, then maybe you go into the master's, and then you know that whatever you studied, it's what you're gonna do, for your lifetime, and that is it, and that's your life. Like you make that decision, you study that degree, and now you deal with it and dedicate your life to that. And in Finland, what I have been noticing is that people get to change their degrees like at any point in their life. And I mean, maybe people might be thinking like, why do you find that shocking? But I find that shocking because it's just so beautiful, like, the big freedom of, understanding, especially in today's world when we are probably gonna live at least 80 years. The life expectancy is just increasing and increasing. And just to think that by the age of 18, you're going to make a decision to study a degree and that you're going to continue studying that degree for the rest of your life until you are 60, and that you're going to dedicate your life to do that, and that, your life decision was made at that point of your life and you have no option B. That is very weird and very scary. And I really love that in Finland, it's just so normal to change careers all the time. I have met multiple adults that, for example, my boyfriend's mom, she studied to be oh my God, what's this in English? Optician, I think, optician, the people that, check your eyes and make, order glasses for yourself so that you can see. But I think 2 or 3 years ago, she was studying a different degree that it was more kind of to support people. Or then, for example, I had one of my big bosses, one of my bosses in the restaurant when I just started there. She was my boss for I think maybe 2 or 3 years, and she had a very, very long career in the restaurant industry. And then one day she was just I want to go to school. And then she decided that she wanted to study to be a massagist. And now she is an entrepreneur and she has her own company where she gives massage to people. And I think that's really beautiful. Or there's, for example, the wife of one of my ex-bosses, that she has 1 million degrees. Now she doesn't have 1 million degrees, but I learned that she, I think at the moment she's a hairdresser, but before I understood that she also had like a business degree and an engineering degree, and I think that now she's studying to become an architect or like a construction person. And I think it's just so beautiful that in Finland there's not this kind of like social pressure that you have to choose something when you are 18 years old and you better choose right, because if you don't, then you're fucked. I really love that about this country. And I mean, of course it has its pros and its cons, but I just feel that given the times we're currently living, it just makes sense to also give people the opportunity to try different career paths throughout their life if they just feel like it. You know, like a person might just find their passion when they are like 18 or 20 and be so lucky that they make the correct choice, and that the choice that they make when they were 18 or 20 years old, that's like, you know, their thing, and they are like, okay, you know, this is gonna be my thing for the rest of their life, and that's like beautiful. But I think it's also beautiful to, you know, be gentle to yourself and live in a society where it's just considered normal, and it's, you know, it's super common that people just change degrees at whatever age they want to change degrees. And that's why in Finland, this is at least one of the reasons why in Finland in universities it's super common to see people that are, for example, just graduated from high school, and they're super common to have people that are maybe like 30, 34, 35, 40, because they are just changing their career paths. And I just, that's something that I personally love about Finland. I feel that this video has been so long already that I'm just gonna wrap it up like in this part, but I really feel that I shared a lot of what I really wanted to share, and there were certainly certain topics that just took more than I expected to share all what I had to share. So I'm just gonna wrap this video at this point, and I'm just gonna continue filming the part 3 of the 100 things that I love about Finland. And I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and see you in the next one, where we're gonna continue exploring what are all these 100 things that I so love from these countries. So see you in the next video. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!